A good Erev Shabbos to everyone. I'm just going to repeat quickly and slightly briefly the drasha, the message that I shared earlier today, as there was a tremendous amount of wind interference on the beautiful beach, and a couple of people requested a clearer recording. We begin the Parsha discussing Behar-Sinai Lemar, a very famous principle taught there, as was mentioned in the Parshas summary, that the Torah is telling us that just like Shemitah, the sabbatical laws were given in detail at Har Sinai, directly from Hashem, and handed down in part orally, the details were orally, so were all the mitzvos. They were all directly from Hashem, handed down orally in a very careful chain of rabbi to rabbi, rebbe to Talmud. And then we have Parshas Bechukosai, Bechukosai Telechu, to go in Hashem's ways, and only then is that the way to see success in the long term. And it's interesting that both emphasize the need to be guided down that path in the ways of Hashem, to follow along and not to just flounder and find your own way. During a time of crisis, of difficulty, of instability, of uncertainty, it's the most imperative time to adhere to that, to insist that rabbinic guidance is crucial and necessary. In truth, right now, there's a lot of different differentials out there, a lot of different opinions, different laws in different states and countries, different health conditions, different medical opinions. Chicago currently in the pandemic is peaking while we're very much healing. There's different opinions in the rabbinical arena as well, whether to hold minyanim or not in this state or that state, this country and this city. Indoor minyanim, outdoor minyanim, backyards, porch minyans, front yards, what to do with bar mitzvahs and weddings. The when, where, the how, and the who. And there are legitimate differences, legitimate opinions. I've been merited to be in contact with the Orthodox Union, the RCA, the Aguda, many leading rabbis, and many leading medical professionals as well. And it's rather unclear exactly the medical and legal reality currently in the state of New York. Tremendous amount of research. It's really phenomenal, very impressive, of research and communication about every aspect of these questions. Many, many conferences. But we need to remember that this machlokes, this debate and discussion, is for the rabbis to formulate and to judge. It's a rabbinic machlokes of how and where and when a minyan should be, to debate and discuss and decide. Not for the lay person to shop around. Every person needs to have a community rabbi whose guidance they're following. And as was going around in the Jewish news this week, if an individual decides, like what happened in that famous case in Florida, to make their own decisions, not to do something privately in their own home, but to organize a minyan and to defy the directives of their rabbi or their community's unified rabbis, refusal to see to the rabbinic authority is really a rejection of Torah Shebaal Peh, of the authenticity of the oral Torah. And as what occurred over there, where they stripped the member of their position as an officer, and banned from receiving aliyos and from davening for the Yamid, etc. And the same is similar notion in one of the largest shuls in the 5 towns was put into place, and they noted very carefully for their members who disobey. And that is because in the 5 towns, as many know, there are many minyanim outdoors and in different scenarios and many different opinions about how it should be done, but everybody needs to follow the rabbi of their congregation, even if in such cases, you'll have one neighbor who's part of one shul doing one thing and the other neighbor doing the other thing. I can tell you that as the chairman of the local South Shore Vad Rabbinical Council, we've had a lot of discussion about this with the local rabbis, working very much together for the best of the Barrier Island community. And as one of my colleagues said, if one wishes to say, oh, I follow my rabbi, he lives in such and such place, and that's his opinion, I'm going to follow him, not the local, tell him to move there. In this time of crisis, right, that's when it's the most imperative to follow the guidance of the Rabbanim of what the Torah and the Halacha wants us to be. This parasha, I think, serves as a very great reminder of that more than ever during a crisis, even though it's unpleasant to enforce, that Mesorah, that Torah that the Rabbanim teach, and that we pass on and treasure and protect from generation to generation, it's so important to adhere to it and not to threaten the future spiritually and in our situation even medically. We had Lag BaOmer, and it was very nice. Baruch Hashem, we were able to celebrate safely here in our shul. Such achdus, such unity. It was good to see everybody, and we missed those of you who were away or couldn't come. But one of the main reasons that we celebrate Lag BaOmer was that the students of Rabbi Akiva stopped dying. They had an epidemic. 24,000 students, virtually all of the rabbinical students of that generation, died in this very short period. Only 5 were left. Imagine the depression, the negative feelings, the despair that most probably could be felt in the air. But on Lag BaOmer, Rabbi Akiva saw that the death had ceased. It was over. How could a grieving nation, who was also on the run at that time from the Roman persecution, be consoled of the loss of so many Talmidei Chachamim that were so essential to their spiritual survival? We just said, you need the rabbis, the Talmidei Chachamim, to teach and guide us on what are the Bechukosai, what are the ways of Hashem. But Rabbi Akiva didn't allow it to stop him. He kept on going, Teilechu, he kept on going, he kept on walking, lifting up those 5 Talmidim to become the future leaders, to lead the rebirth, the guardians who would ensure the precious Masorah, the oral Torah, is transmitted in Bechukosai, Teilechu, keeping on walking, moving along, growing, learning, delving into that Torah, and ensuring its authentic preservation. V'nesati gishmeichem be'itam, the rain, the good, will come at the right times, at the appropriate and most beneficial times. Lag BaOmer rejects melancholy. The fire of Rabbi Akiva, the Kabbalistic fires of the revelations of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, leap and jump in the bonfires, and we dance and sing and spend time together, proclaiming optimism in the face of plagues, in the face of hostility, in proclaiming our faith in the future that is interwoven with the proper transmission of Torah from Rebbe to Talmud, from a rabbi to a student, from the leaders to the congregations. That's what Lag BaOmer is all about. And every year, I'll mention on Lag BaOmer in Miron, the Heilige Miron, hundreds of thousands of Jews normally ascend the mountain in a beautiful display of achdus, of unity, of brotherliness, that sadly otherwise they don't always get along. But Lag BaOmer rises above it. It leaps up, and they all dance around the same leaping flames. And this year it was sad. There was a cancellation, obviously, no big event. I had even been considered going to Israel myself, but alas, it was not to be. And as I do each year, I logged on to the live stream, and there's a few dozen people there instead of hundreds of thousands, and it was sad. But then I logged on to the Hatzalathon live stream, where there was thousands and thousands of people watching around the globe, and tens of thousands of Jews contributing for $15 million, mostly of small donations. That was this year's Lag BaOmer, this year's joining in the mitzvah of tzedakah and chesed. Instead of the hundreds of thousands physically in Meron, we had them fiscally joining in those mitzvos of saving lives of the Hatzalah. And I think that was a tremendous way to be ma'uchad, to be part of an achdus, a unity of people. That there could be different approaches, legitimate ones at times, different psakim, different directives in different places, or different opinions and different summations arrived at. But still, we need to be careful to follow the leaders, to follow your leaders, dance around those flames, leap and jump to the Masorah, continue our tradition, because b'Torah u'mitzvos, b'chukosai v'mitzvosai, that's what join us and empower us to leap above and beyond. Let's have a wonderful Shabbos and continue to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim in every action that we do.